I didn't care. I worked my ass off. I did 100% in the gym. I was 100% on my meal plan. On top of that, I hired a stage coach and a hair and makeup artist. I would rehearse with my stage coach, literally walking in heels in my bikini on stage. With my hair and makeup girl, I would rehearse in time, like how long, like everything we had to do. So my hair was perfect, my makeup was perfect. And honestly, at the time, Ron even thought I was a bit nuts. He was like, he didn't understand why I was doing all this. Well, in that 5-month journey, I became a completely different person. I was so laser focused on every little detail I had to do and that I could do in order to reach that goal. I was so disciplined that I was sleeping in a different bedroom from my husband 1 month after we got married. I needed my sleep so I could perform at the highest level, and thankfully my husband supported my madness 100%. I worked harder at this than anything I had ever done in my life, and I did everything the right way. 0 shortcuts, 0 steroids, 0 cheating on my exercises and on my meal plan. And out of all the girls that my coach trained, I was the only one who won her IFBB Pro card. This gave me an immense sense of pride and confidence. Alicia, you made a comment about confidence when you have your finances in order. Well, it's unbelievable the confidence you get when you have this in order. By the time I won the USAs, I was signed by Tiger Woods' company, and I was doing interviews and promoting their products all over the United States. I even had my picture on a billboard in the New York Times Square. But during all of this, I was still working a full-time 60 hours plus a week as VP and head of business development for a visual effects company, making over 6 figures and working with studios like Sony, Disney, Marvel, and ESPN. At the time in 2012, I also got my real estate license, so I began my real estate career. And on the side, I was just making another 6 figures, helping my husband's clients, so Silicon Valley executives and Hollywood producers and actors, business owners. It was a very busy time in my life, but in those months, I found my purpose, my focus, and my hunger for greatness. And the best part was that I had my husband, someone next to me, cheering me on. I always like to say, imagine a bridge, and I started on this side. I was lost, I was directionless, I was doing everything I could to fit in, but after I went through that journey, I stood on this side of the bridge. I was focused. I was doing everything opposite of what 99% of people do. I felt like I was a changed woman for life. And that is when I realized that greatness is for everyone. If you are willing to sacrifice, focus, and work relentlessly without taking shortcuts. I was not the same woman Ron met in 2008. I'd found my path, and now I love the person that I was and I was becoming. Remember, all of my childhood, I never felt like I belonged. Ron's unconditional love and support was the home I had been searching for my entire life. And despite all the ups and downs, I persisted and I found my fairy tale story. No matter how low I got, I never stopped believing in love. You have to believe in the magic if you want to experience it. You cannot let the world make you jaded or any other human. Don't give them that power. You can never, ever stop working on yourself. Well, then in October of 2012, I decided it was time for Ron to pursue his filmmaking journey and his dreams. It was my turn to take a step back and support him. So besides managing several $1 million as a stockbroker, Ron's also an actor, producer, director, and he started our film production, our production company in 2005. But he stopped making movies to support my fitness journey. I talked him into restarting his filmmaking dream, and my competition days were behind me. We worked day and night, and in any free time we had, while we also worked our day jobs. I taught myself how to edit, color correct, do all the sound, audio mixing, and produce so I could help support Ron and eventually making a Hollywood feature film. We were making short films, music videos, corporate training videos, commercials on the weekends, and we perfected the art of actually making a Hollywood feature film eventually. Everyone told us it was a pipe dream breaking it into Hollywood, and we had zero chance. So many of our friends laughed at us when we weren't going to that pool party anymore, and we were spending our weekends, 4 a.m., carrying our equipment just to do a music video for zero pay. Do you know how we actually learned how to make films? Books from Barnes & Noble, so they were free. Videos from YouTube, again free. And master classes online. Some of those we did have to pay. But this is where I'm going to share one of my favorite quotes. And if you've ever heard my husband speak, he says it all the time. People don't fail because they lack resources. People fail because they lack resourcefulness. Take a minute, just let that sit. I've come to realize that truly is the secret to any business and any endeavor in life that you want to make, right? People don't fail because they lack resources. People fail because they lack resourcefulness. While others laughed at us, we were sitting there mastering the art of taking $1 and making it look like $1,000 on screen. We built up our film production. We added new technology because it became easier and easier for anyone to make a feature film. We were getting ourselves ready to make a $500,000 film look like a $5 million film. Then in February of 2019, we met this young Black lady named Alana Brown on Instagram. For 7 years, this first-time writer-director was trying to get a script she wrote made into a film called Trees of Peace. But no one was willing to finance it or help her produce it so she could direct. At the time, my husband was getting ready to direct his own feature film, and we had $2 million in financing waiting for his directorial debut, which was just sitting there for 2 years when we read her script. He read it first, and then he handed it to me and said, "You've got to read this." I did, and we were both blown away by the Oscar-worthy script we had. So Ron decided to take a step back and produce this film. And I have to tell you, at the moment, I knew what that meant. And I knew if we didn't have him direct and we directed her film, that's going to take us off our trajectory for 2 to 3 years. Plus, Ron was way more qualified to direct than this first-time female director, who had only done 1 short film. At that time, Ron had directed 26 short films, music videos, commercials, and even acted in big movies that had been released theatrically worldwide. But after we discussed it, we took a joint decision to produce her film. Well, when we went to raise the money for the film, no one was willing to finance it for a first-time female Black director. We went to famous Black millionaires, celebrities. No one was willing to finance this story with 3 Black female leads, 1 white female lead, with hardly any men in it. They actually told us, because it had all women and the subject matter was what it was, it takes place during the genocide of Rwanda, it wouldn't sell. Ron got so upset, he did something no first-time director with his level of experience would do. He used his own directorial debut financing, sitting there for him, and he put it on this first-time female Black director to fund her dream. Of course, I supported him 100%, but our investors wanted Ron to direct, not Alana. They trusted his experience, his backing, his past work, but Ron convinced them that this story had to be told by a female Black woman, not a man. He promised to our investors that we would oversee everything and make sure we would do everything necessary to make sure the film was a great film. And in fact, 3 years before we even finished making this film, he and I knew how we were going to sell it and market it. So to make a long story short, after 2.5 years of shooting, editing, re-editing, paying everyone else except for ourselves, and fighting many other battles, Ron and I were able to finish the film and personally sell it to Netflix as a Netflix original. It's licensed and on Netflix for the next 20 years. We not only recovered our full budget, our investors were paid a very nice profit, and our film premiered worldwide in 191 countries, 32 languages, and within 5 days of releasing, Trees of Peace, that movie that so many other Black millionaires and celebrities said no one would ever watch, was top 10 in 60 countries. It was on Rotten Tomatoes with 100% critic score and 85% audience score. It was posted in an article as one of Netflix's biggest sleeper hits of 2022. And in fact, we were top 10 in the US, which is actually a huge deal because the other 8 movies in our category were $250 million budget, huge studio films like Titanic, Mission Impossible, Spider-Man. Our little independent film budget was $600,000. We took on the system and we proved that not only could women carry a good film, it's not about the money you throw at a film, it's about a good quality film. Remember, for years, Ron and I mastered the art of making $1 look like 1,000. Well, all those years of consistent hard work and sacrificing our fun pool parties and nights with our friends paid off. This was actually pretty surprising, but even Steven Spielberg came to Ron and he said, "Your film looks like a $5 million budget film," and that hit home. The film launched the careers of 4 Black women and 1 white woman in Hollywood in a big way. Our director, who was practically on food stamps when we met her, now has had 7 six-figure paying jobs in Hollywood. All of the actresses and actors have gone on to do many high-profile movies in Hollywood with A-list actors like Will Smith and Jesse Eisenberg. And finally, all of the studios and streamers have opened their doors to Ron and I, waiting to get a first look at our next project. Remember, everyone told us we had 0 chance of making it in Hollywood. And as you can see, no one knows what you are capable of. This little brown girl from Florida who was lost, depressed, 0 direction, didn't belong anywhere that I knew of. I somehow never gave up on that fairy tale and on love, and I kept working on myself and I forged my own path. It took me 30 years to find Ron, but before I met him, I first had to make the choice to change my old ways, and I had to do this all on my own. No one else could make me. If I wouldn't have made that choice on that one morning, fast forward, I would have never met Ron and we would have never happened because, well, Ron will tell you, he didn't date girls that did drugs or drink. And luckily, that is exactly who I had become when our paths crossed. Timing is everything in life. So remember, no matter where you are in life, it's never too late to reinvent yourself. You are always one choice, one conversation, one night away from a completely different life. For me, that one night was one conversation with a guy in a fedora who I thought was some Vegas playboy surrounded by beautiful women. Go figure. Anyways, thank you all for your time. I appreciate your support. Thank you. I know it's been a long day. Thank you for letting me share the story. Go watch Trees of Peace if you haven't checked it out already. It's on Netflix. I promise it's one of the good ones. And if you are moved, please leave a comment or review on IMDb or Rotten Tomatoes. Thank you all. One last thing. Remember, it's not where you start, but it's where you finish. So thank you.